Hello and welcome along to the Village Inn pub in Merton in East Durham. Labour is tanking the economy. There's no growth in Britain. Just look at today's ONS stats. The country is on its knees, and yet this Labour government is just embroiled in sleaze, in scandal, in accusations of being paedophile apologists. But meanwhile here in East Durham, people are just trying to get on with their lives. They need actions, not petty words. They need urgent action. This seat was Labour, has been Labour, for more than 100 years. And yet, at the next election, it's predicted to go Reform. And it's not a mystery as to why. Let me tell you why. Firstly, they say their community's been decimated. Let's have a look at this here quickly, actually, if you don't mind. Sorry, but I've just noticed this, well, what was the point of putting all of these kind of fake windows and doors on, really? Who came up with this idea? Why did they decide to do it? And their factories are being decimated as well.
It's a huge shame that we're losing yet somewhere else for people to go to. It's a lack of opportunity, especially for young people who are going through qualifications. They get to the end. There needs to be more of this. Someone from the government should be up here saying, what can we do to help to keep you here? Or attracting businesses to come to the UK, especially in County Durham.
Areas like this were once the beating heart of Britain's industrial might. People had jobs, people had purpose, people had community, and yet net zero is killing all that.
We've never ever had somewhere to tick at the ballot box where we can say, right, they'll reindustrialise, they'll give our children jobs and opportunities on the doorstep so we can actually watch our grandchildren grow up in this area.
And as we all know, with the rises in national insurance, minimum wage, business rates, tax, energy bills, it's crippling hard-working small business owners.
I think your taxes, national insurance, pensions, people are paid into private pensions and they're being impacted with that. And, we just seem to be getting hammered in certain areas like that, don't we? Which is really quite sad and a bit deflating. People are having to work a lot longer to be able to claim the pensions and stuff.
But I tell you what, if Labour were hoping that the student activists would ride to their rescue, they've got another thing coming. They're worried about the economy as well.
Biggest political issue, I would say it's the economy. It's the cost of living, the cost of what's happening, the cost of groceries, the cost of everything.
I'd probably have to say just like general state of like the economy, especially for like young people as well.
Develop economy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I think economy is most important one.
Right now I'm 19, so I'm not facing that many issues, but I'd probably say it would be the economy for most people.
Yeah.
I think that we have to focus on growth because that's what matters, about growing the economy and employing more people.
But this guy really gets it.
The economy, sorting the economy out.
It's a common theme, this. How could it be better for you?
Lower taxes, sort of trying to initiate kind of business growth, innovation, creativity, that kind of stuff.
You don't think that's happening much at the minute? No. And that's so interesting, isn't it? Because you've got the traditional working class people in the local area who are actually sharing the same concerns as those supposedly woke students at Durham University.
Every time your phone connects to public Wi-Fi, anyone nearby could snoop on what you're doing. Hackers can steal your information, passwords, photos, and bank details in just seconds. ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. ExpressVPN is so easy to use. With just one click of a button, you're protected. Streaming, banking, or shopping, you can switch between high-speed servers worldwide in seconds, and your connection never slows down. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free, all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect your online life today.
Come with me, because I want to meet the first of several guests tonight. And thank you, by the way, everyone who's turned out tonight. Thank you. It's so lovely to see so many people here. We've got Brian, who's a retired miner, and we have got Lynn as well, who's a charity worker, a pillar of the community. Brian, I'll start with you, OK? What are some of the big issues around the economy in this area, do you think, and the community?
Yeah. First of all, Patrick, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And you rightly point out that Easington constituency has been a Labour stronghold for decades now. Yet, sadly, there is such high levels of deprivation and disadvantage in our communities that has also gone on for decades. I mean, we have something like 42,500 households across Easington, yet only 38% of those households actually live without some form of deprivation. So how can Labour, after all these decades, explain that? They can't. There's only about 50% of the population actually in employment, 32% about, higher paid employment. There is such low aspiration in this area. Having said that, I think I have some room for optimism.
Yes, good.
The reason being that last May we got a Reform UK-led Durham County Council. And on the back of that, one of the towns, Seaham Harbour, for the first time in over 100 years, does not have any Labour councillors, either on the town or at the county council. But
what's the plan to improve it?
Why I'm encouraged is the fact that last month the leadership adopted a motion and adopted a policy for reindustrialisation of the county. Now that is a massive plus. And I also know that they are in discussions and negotiations with some big companies. And I think that East Durham will totally benefit from that.
That's a huge thing that I'm picking up on. We're going to talk about that in a bit more detail later on, because you are quite literally sitting on a gold mine here, aren't you, really, in this area? You've got natural resources both under your feet and offshore as well, and apparently you're not allowed to tap into any of those, which seems absolutely remarkable, doesn't it? But Lynn, I want to bring you in because I know that you work in the charity sector. You actually do work for quite a well-known charity, which I'm sure you'll explain, but they're struggling a little bit at the moment. You don't really feel like maybe the government is doing enough to put people like you first.
This is exactly right. I work for the Bradley Lowry Foundation, a very well-known charity in the North East.
Just to explain, I'm sure most people will know, but who is Bradley Lowry?
So Bradley was a 6-year-old little boy, big football fan, very good friends with Jermaine Defoe. He had stage 4 high-risk neuroblastoma and sadly passed away. Myself and his mum set the charity up. Gemma's obviously the founder, I'm the co-founder. And we set the charity up to support families who are fundraising for treatment or equipment that isn't available yet on the NHS. So we've sent children all over the world to access treatment. We've now started working with adults because we found through COVID that there was nowhere to signpost adults to. We fund research, we also build a holiday home. Now, one of the things that we're noticing now, we don't get any government funding, we rely solely on public donations.
Right.
Since COVID, public donations have gone because people haven't got that spare pound anymore. For me, I kind of look at the way the economy's being ran at the moment. I look at the way that the national insurance has increased for small businesses and other charities. And I don't see why taxes can't be reduced for businesses if they donate so much money to charities, because it's charities that's picking up the pieces at the moment. We work alongside lots of other charities, not related to what we do, and kind of share the workload. We accept and close donations, for example, recycling those. We get other donations that we can't use, we give them to other charities, and so on and so forth. Something needs to change.
Absolutely, and there is a sense, I think, isn't there, that we can find the money for lots of other things, but not necessarily good charities and people like Lynn. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw this back to our panel in Paddington in London, who are going to be talking about all of this, and then we'll come back here and we'll pick up where we left off. So Alex, it's over to you. What you can see really here is that, it's not a mystery, is it? These people who feel like they've been left behind, that the Labour Council or the Labour government certainly hasn't done enough for them.
Yeah, absolutely right, Patrick. Thanks so much. This is what GB News is all about, isn't it? It's about us going out meeting real people in the real world. Well, of course, I'm joined by a fantastic panel tonight. Former Labour advisor Matthew Larser and Conservative peer Lord Bailey. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me.
Thank you.
Of course, you've been listening to real people there up in East Durham, and they have a lot to say. They do. Matthew, they're very dissatisfied with the state of the country, and they are not happy, having backed Labour for 100 years, with your party. Factories closing, net zero taxes.
Yeah, I mean, look, Durham is the spiritual and electoral heartland of the Labour Party, and, it's incredibly disappointing to hear traditional voters like those we've been hearing from in the pub who feel that the party has let them down. There are just a couple of facts. Labour hasn't run Durham County Council for nearly 6 years, so the immediate problems can't be blamed at the Labour Party's door because it hasn't run it. But, and the government's only been in for 18 months, and you can't wave a magic wand and change everything. However, that doesn't mean to say that those concerns aren't very real. I'm less concerned about the public school boys at Durham University. I speak as somebody who went to Durham University, found it too posh, having come from my state comprehensive and after 2 terms left. It was so unradical that in the debating society we did a debate on sex before marriage and they voted against it. And this, I'm not that old. This was in the 90s, not the 1890s. So, it's the concerns of the people we're hearing from in the pub that clearly the government needs to address. And if it's got energy wants to get re-elected, it needs to give people a feeling that it's on their side, and that's the key for the government.
So are you saying, really, a lot of this falls onto the Conservative Party?
Well, I mean, the Conservative Party ran the economy for 14 years. Look, on net zero, I can see how people see a factory closing and they might want to blame it on net zero. There are 11,000 jobs in the County Durham economy that are dependent on the green economy. Green growth needs to be across the country. There's a lot on Teesside, not a million miles away from there, that's coming. Actually, oddly, to be fair, Ben Houchen, the Tory mayor, works closely with the government to bring those green jobs to Bristol. There's going to be a big new data centre.
Where are they,
AI.
Where are these green jobs we've been
well, there are 11,000 of them in County Durham, Alex.
Durham are waiting for them. They're waiting for them. They've seen the deindustrialisation of their place for a very long time. But look, let's get over to Lord Bailey, because I was basically encouraging him to bait you into that conversation there, Lord Bailey, because a lot of people do look at the 14 years of Conservative government and they see net zero was one of the biggest agendas. Of course, Theresa May pushed it very hard, and successive leaders after it, Boris and Rishi Sunak, of course, did the same thing. Is there a part to play for the Tories here?
There's two things I'd say. You have to be honest about the condition of the economy's in and who was responsible and how we got there. You know me, as a Tory, I won't abandon some of the mistakes we made. But what I will say is those mistakes could either be repaired or built upon. And I'd argue that this Labour government have absolutely no chance of fixing the economy because of their natural instincts. They constantly want to create new laws, constantly want to create new taxes, and they constantly want to create new regulations which raise costs for business owners. And the first thing you do if you own a business and you're struggling is you get rid of staff, because staff are the most expensive. And that's what those real people were expressing their lack of opportunity for their young people. So that's why Labour is here. The other reason as well, of course, Labour came in on such fanfare. They were very high and mighty with the words they spoke and the promises they made, and already they have gone back on nearly all of them. That's why, traditionally, Matthew would have been correct. It's very soon in the life of a government, but not very soon in the life of the Labour government, because they've gone back on almost everything they promised.
Reform UK doing very well up there by the looks of it. Could go completely reform at the next election. How bad is that for Labour?
Clearly, that would be a disaster for Labour, not only because, we want to see Labour, I want to see Labour MPs in Westminster, and I want to see a Labour government, but also because Labour can't just be a party of the middle classes, it has to represent places like County Durham. So I think it's very important that Labour reconnects. But I would just say, to pick up on what Sean was saying and what you were saying in your last comment to me, is I think the big thing we need to do, which the government is starting to focus on, but there's more that needs to be done, is skills. So, we haven't focused enough as a country. We've actually thought about the Durham University students and not the people 5 miles down the road who need the skills for the jobs that are being created now in the economy.
I'm really looking forward to asking my panel what they thought about Keir Starmer's tweet celebrating growth today. Growth, 0.1%. Are you joking me? Anyway, listen, we've got loads more time for that. Sure, Lord Bailey, what do you think of actually... I'll ask you while I've got you here. What do you think of Keir Starmer celebrating 0.1% growth?
I think Keir Starmer is a disgrace as a Prime Minister at this point, and he has to do anything to deflect from the troubles he's in. I'm quite astonished that Labour MPs haven't gone after him. Labour are in a tough position. The leader of that tough position is their current Prime Minister. They need to remove him for the benefit of the Labour Party and the country. That's why he's talking about 0.01% of growth, or whatever it was.
0.1% of the last quarter.
Figures like that mean nothing to no one. What we really want to have a conversation about is employment. How many new jobs? Because you can have that amount of growth. There could be in one company, it's so tiny. We want to know where the new jobs.
And this is it, isn't it? I think Lord Bailey there's got that right. I've seen other people in the comments underneath this post the Prime Minister's put out on X saying this is not what real people are feeling. Unemployment is rising rising rapidly. Benefit bill is rising rapidly. So is it a little bit out of touch from a man who claims to be a working class, you know...
Son of a toolmaker.
Son of a toolmaker, as we know very well.
Look, I mean, you know, they feel they have to do it. Maybe they do, but actually, if, you know, there's currently a vacancy for the Director of Comms, so here's my job application. I don't think I'd take it as the average life
I think we need a little bit more vetting.
12, about 12 weeks in that job. But, you know, clearly, like Soviet tractor production, you're too young to remember the Soviet Union, but tractor production targets, when the Soviet Union used to declare the economy's brilliant, people who could see what was happening in the West knew it wasn't. It's about real people's experience on the ground. The government's still got 3 years. There's a lot more that it needs to do, and as I say, it needs to focus on connecting people and jobs through skills.